The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway, and that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
Just when the turbulent saga surrounding Rachel Zegler and Disney's Snow White remake seemed incapable of generating more shockwaves, the actress dropped a legal nuclear bomb. Word leaked, then exploded across headlines. Zegler had filed a staggering 9-figure defamation suit, $100 million, against Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the notoriously irreverent masterminds behind South Park. Hollywood insiders instantly recognized the setup for an epic 21st century spectacle, a rising star, still visibly bruised from the Snow White fallout, squaring off against two veteran satirists who'd built an empire by gleefully skewering pop culture's most sacred cows for nearly 3 decades. What began as a typically brisk, edgy South Park parody suddenly morphed into a high-stakes legal drama, pitting a young performer's reputation and future earnings against the freewheeling, take-no-prisoners spirit of television's most unapologetically offensive show.
And what they recently did toward both Zegler and the Disney company for their Snow White film. It turns out that both Trey Parker and Matt Stone are already preparing for the DEI special.
The dispute ignited after South Park aired an installment mercilessly lampooning the relentless controversy surrounding Zegler's involvement in the Snow White remake, a project already buckling under the weight of fan backlash and critical scrutiny, particularly concerning its modernizing, DEI-focused approach. Parker and Stone, reportedly already planning an upcoming DEI special for Paramount Plus, used the episode to exaggerate every conflicting headline. Their cartoon Rachel strutted through a surreal pastel kingdom, smartphone wielded like a scepter, firing off hot-button takes on historical context, studio politics, and social progress. Each scene pushed the caricature, culminating in a musical number gleefully mocking public weariness over big-budget, seemingly agenda-driven remakes of beloved classics. While die-hard South Park fans roared with laughter, somewhere in Los Angeles, the real Rachel Zegler reportedly watched, her smile fading as the animated jabs cut deeper than perhaps even Parker and Stone anticipated.
Snow White is the first American feature-length animated movie. 1937. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time.
Initial murmurs suggested Zegler might simply shrug off the mockery. Countless celebrities, after all, have endured South Park's merciless spotlight. But those assumptions proved wildly incorrect. Within days, TMZ splashed the explosive headline, Rachel Zegler weighs $100 million lawsuit over South Park episode. What many dismissed as bluster quickly solidified into concrete legal action. Zegler's team filed paperwork accusing Parker, Stone, and their studios of deliberately damaging her career prospects. The suit alleged the show crossed the line from parody into malicious character assassination, portraying her as an entitled, out-of-touch diva solely responsible for Snow White's colossal box office failure. The complaint specifically cited animated sequences implying she had personally siphoned production funds, joking about $40 million snack budgets, as malicious falsehoods, not fair comedic exaggeration.
Even if everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time and a truly groundbreaking movie.
According to the filing, the damage wasn't hypothetical. Prospective casting offers allegedly evaporated after the episode aired, with one studio reportedly citing the cartoon portrayal as a reason to delay involvement, until the dust settles. To Zegler's camp, this was concrete proof of real financial harm directly linked to the South Park parody. News of the lawsuit broke just as Parker and Stone were wrapping a writers' meeting. Phones reportedly buzzed in unison with alerts from Hollywood trade publications. The co-creators exchanged a look, equal parts annoyance and dark amusement. They'd weathered blowback before, from religious groups, corporations, even protesters outside Comedy Central. Yet, never had an individual actor sought such an astronomical sum. The writer's room erupted in nervous laughter, someone quipping, "Well, guess we're finally worth 100 mil apiece."
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The
Our
right to buy
reproductive
Cosby
rights.
sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face
Go
of a
vote blue.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Behind the jokes, however, lay genuine concern. Parker and Stone understood the media landscape had shifted dramatically since South Park's 1997 debut. Now, every gag ricocheted globally across social media, reaching massive, polarized audiences. If a court deemed their Snow White send-up legally defamatory, it could jeopardize not only future episodes, but also their massive, near-billion-dollar deal with Paramount Plus for spin-off movies and specials, including the planned DEI deep dive. The show's trademark bravado suddenly faced a serious legal stress test. Public reaction, predictably, split down familiar lines. Social media users sympathetic to Zegler championed her courage in challenging what they termed unchecked animation harassment. Conversely, legions of South Park defenders rallied behind the creators, arguing they represented the last bastion of unapologetic humor, popularizing hashtags like #satire is not slander.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
Legal analysts flooded news panels debating whether a cartoon could reasonably be interpreted as factual assertion. Inside South Park Studios, Parker and Stone convened a late-night strategy session. Their first instinct? Turn the lawsuit itself into content. But lawyers cautioned against any on-air response that could be deemed retaliatory. In an uncharacteristic move, the duo opted for initial radio silence, though they couldn't resist drafting comedic sketches behind closed doors. A puppet court, a musical lament titled "Sue Me Gently." Meanwhile, details about Rachel's state of mind trickled out. Friends claimed she oscillated between exhaustion and fierce determination, convinced that failing to stand up now would cement her image as Hollywood's latest punchline, viewing the lawsuit as a necessary message to the industry that she wouldn't be a passive target.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
I'm sorry that the Snow White movie sucked, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry at all that we forced, basically as a company, Daily Wire forced Snow White into production again.
Detractors sneered, pointing out that luminaries like Tom Cruise and even the Queen of England had endured harsher South Park treatment. Supporters countered that Zegler, still building her resume, was far more vulnerable to reputational damage from misrepresentation. As the case progressed, Parker and Stone finally broke their public silence with a concise statement. We believe strongly in the right to parody public figures and public events. We look forward to a vigorous defense of that right. The brevity signaled a fight on principle. Legal scholars predicted a courtroom showdown hinging on the blurry line between satire and defamation. Could the South Park episode's depiction of Rachel demanding more money be reasonably seen as literal fact by viewers, especially those lacking media literacy? Her attorneys cited social posts claiming she admitted to hijacking the production as proof the spoof had indeed warped perception. Defense counsel countered with examples of viewers laughing at the absurdity, arguing its ridiculousness proved comedic intent.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
And this started with the movie star Rachel Zegler, who I believe would be categorized as a loudmouth dope.
Amid this legal back and forth, Disney lurked as an unseen player. Whispers suggested the studio monitored proceedings anxiously, worried that Discovery could unearth internal memos about Snow White's budget overruns, or candid discussions about the South Park parody itself. Though unnamed in the suit, Disney's brand loomed large. A scheduling conference set the trial date for early the following year, potentially colliding with awards season and the next South Park season. ensuring the controversy would remain white-hot. Entertainment lawyers speculated the looming PR circus might push both sides toward a confidential settlement. But Parker and Stone showed no inclination, believing capitulation would set a dangerous precedent, creating a chilling effect on satire. Their stance rallied free speech advocates, including the ACLU, which filed a brief stressing satire's crucial watchdog function against carefully curated celebrity images.
It was supposed to come out like a year and a half ago, and then we went after them so hard because of their variety of ridiculous sins that they actually went into full-scale reshoots on Snow White when we announced that we had a competitor.
Rachel's team launched a subtle media campaign, reframing her motives as a personal stand by a young woman enduring months of ridicule, culminating in a harmful caricature seen by millions. Her tearful but composed late-night interview, where she drew the line at reckless misrepresentations derailing livelihoods, nudged public opinion slightly. Still, for every supportive article, another castigated her as thin-skinned. Social media remained a battleground. The pre-trial hearing became its own spectacle. Parker and Stone arrived with flashes of irreverence, cartoon-patterned ties, TV-shaped cufflinks. Rachel projected seriousness in a tailored navy blazer. During arguments, her counsel hammered on scenes like accountants dumping cash at her feet, claiming they presented false statements as fact. The defense invoked First Amendment precedent, arguing that punishing comedic exaggeration risks stifling commentary across the entertainment landscape. The judge declined to dismiss the suit, ruling a jury must decide if the average viewer could discern parody from reality.
It was the first animated film that had the kind of Disney magic that had depth, that had absolute, it was riveting. And it's based, of course, on a Brothers Grimm story. And people loved that film.
As Discovery commenced, rumors surfaced that Parker and Stone possessed internal Disney emails acknowledging the South Park satire wasn't entirely wrong, potentially explosive evidence. Whether true or not, the speculation added fuel to the fire. During this lull, the South Park creators poured energy into their next season, crafting an allegory about free expression involving enchanted puppets and literal-minded robots, reigniting debate. Rachel, meanwhile, focused on a smaller indie film, deliberately avoiding the blockbuster spotlight and steering interview questions away from the lawsuit. As the trial date neared, Hollywood braced for fireworks. Legal experts predicted the verdict, whichever way it swung, would have ripple effects on how satire handles real-life figures in the streaming age.
As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look. That is our job.
Opening statements played to emotion and principle. Rachel's attorney painted a picture of humiliation. The defense championed America's tradition of lampooning public figures. Witnesses included media scholars and psychologists. Parker and Stone testified about their creative process, admitting they sometimes relish controversy. Rachel followed, giving heartfelt testimony about the emotional toll, the anxiety spirals, the fear of being permanently branded difficult. After 3 tense days, the jury returned. Parker and Stone were not liable. The foreperson explained that while they empathized with Rachel's distress, the episode's surreal tone made it unreasonable to take as factual. Outside the courthouse, Rachel vowed to continue advocating for respectful dialogue. Parker and Stone quipped, "We're going back to work." In the aftermath, Rachel's indie film garnered positive reviews, suggesting audiences hadn't abandoned her. South Park's next episode opened with a tongue-in-cheek dedication to anyone who's ever wanted to sue us. Industry analysts cited the case for months. The verdict reaffirmed broad legal latitude for comedy, yet the reputational cost to all involved was undeniable. Rachel gained credibility for defending her image. South Park was reminded that even sharp jokes echo in real lives. The saga stands as a vivid chapter on the fragile balance between satire and personal narrative, a multi-million-dollar legal war sparked by a single animated segment. ultimately leaving both sides perhaps wiser, certainly battle-scarred, but ready for their next act.